Thank you for joining me at the Backyard Forager. Today, we're going to talk about dock seeds and how to turn them into a gluten-free flour. Dock seeds are one of the few things I can actually forage for in winter. Their seeds are persistent, which means they stay on the plant until the birds or the wind take them away, and they're very easy to spot if you're walking around the neighborhood. The stems that hold the dock seeds extend 4 or 5 feet above the basal rosette of foliage, and each seed is held within a very thin membrane that has 3 wings on it. If you take a look at the seeds in this photograph, you'll be able to see how the sun shines through that membrane and highlights the seed inside of each one of those winged capsules. You might be familiar with dock as a wild edible green. This is curly dock, also known as Rumex crispus, and it's one of my favorite wild greens. I pick it in both spring and fall when the foliage is at its most tender, and it has a wonderful lemony flavor. But the foliage isn't the only delicious part of the dock plant. The seeds can be used to make a terrific gluten-free flour. The reddish-brown stems of the dock plants are very easy to spot. And when you get up nice and close, you can see how many seeds are held on each of those stalks, which means that it's very easy and efficient to harvest a lot of dock seeds all at once, which you can take home, make into flour, and use in brownies or cakes or crackers. It's a quick and handy harvest. I want to give you an idea of how large these plants actually are. Those stems are being held 4 to 5 feet above the base of the plant. And the other thing I want to show you is the technique for stripping the seeds off the stem. You simply grab one of the branches down at the base and gently slide off the seeds. And that's what we're going to bring back into the kitchen and turn into flour. I want you to see how tall these dock stems are. These plants are as tall as I am when they're in seed, and I'm 5'5". So this is a plant that will really stick out in the landscape. You'll see it very easily, and it's a great wild food to harvest in fall and winter. Once you get your dock seeds back to the kitchen, you're going to spread them out in a single layer on a cookie sheet. So they look something like this. And that's going to make it easier for you to pick out all of the little leaves and bird feathers or anything else extra that might have snuck in there. And you're going to roast them in a 350-degree oven for like 5 or 10 minutes. You're just going to turn a little bit darker brown. And this is just to finish drying out the dock seeds, especially if you have harvested them earlier in the season. By the time it gets to be January or February, those dock seeds are probably going to be pretty dry on the plant already. But roasting them sort of gives them a little extra, maybe caramelized flavor. Winnowing dock seed would be a real pain in the you-know-what because the sheath around each seed clings to it very tightly. Fortunately, we don't have to winnow the dock seed. We can grind it all up all together, and that membrane, that sheath that covers the seed, is going to add a little extra fiber and contribute to the volume of your flour. So what I have now is a 1.5 cups of roasted dock seeds. And the next step is to grind them into flour. So you could do this if you had a Vitamix blender. That would be great in a dry grains canister. But you can also do it with something as simple as a coffee bean grinder. Although I do recommend having one specially designated for non-coffee items because coffee has such a strong flavor that it tends to, carry over. So this is my spice grinder, let's say, but no strong smell. So I'm going to pour a few dock seeds in there, and I'm gonna have to do this in batches, and then we're just gonna give it a shake, give it a grind. I'm gonna check and see do that to tap off any that might be sticking to the cover. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's pretty finely ground now. I'm going to give it another couple pulses, and then I will do the rest of the grinding, and I'm going to let you know how much flour 1.5 cups of dockseed produces. 1/2 cup of roasted dockseed flour. So that means you can count on the volume decreasing by 2/3 when you're making the seeds into the flour. Now remember, you're only going to substitute the dockseed flour for up to half of the regular flour in any recipe. You still need something with gluten in it to bind, or another gluten-free flour that's been designed to bind and rise, which the dockseed flour will not do. But it's a great thing to forage for in winter, really useful, and as you can see, very easy to make. Do these brownies look good to you? I'm telling you, they're pretty tasty. If you'd like to try the recipe for yourself, you can find it at the URL listed at the bottom of your screen. Thank you so much for joining me today at the Backyard Forager. I hope you enjoyed yourself and that I'll see you next time.